Once upon a time there was a little boy called Silly Billy. It all began on a rainy Tuesday, the sort that made the garden squelch and Mum mutter about muddy footprints and soggy socks. Silly Billy sat cross-legged on the living room carpet, surrounded by a sea of crayons, paper, and biscuit crumbs. Sulky the cat glared from the windowsill, unimpressed by Billy's latest masterpiece, a teapot with legs doing the can-can. "Billy," Mum called from the kitchen, "just one drawing before tea." "All right." Billy nodded, already halfway through sketching a sock monster with googly eyes and suspiciously familiar stripes. But then he spotted it, a crayon he'd never seen before. It was bright red, with a golden swirl and a label that read, "For use by the wildly imaginative only." Naturally, Billy took that as a personal invitation. He gripped the crayon and began to draw. First came a tail, long, pink, and spiky. Then legs, short and stumpy like Dad's when he's crouching to fix the boiler. A round belly, a cheeky grin, and tiny arms that looked like they'd struggled to butter toast. Billy giggled. "You're a proper pinkosaurus," he whispered. The moment he finished the last toe, the paper shimmered. The tail twitched. The drawing blinked. And then, with a puff of crayon dust and a sound like a whoopee cushion, the pink dinosaur stepped off the page and into the room. Sulky hissed. Mum dropped a spoon. Billy beamed. "I think I've drawn myself into a corner," he said proudly. The dinosaur blinked, sniffed the biscuit tin, and let out a squeaky roar that rattled the teacups. It wasn't scary, more like a balloon letting out a polite burp. "Billy!" Mum gasped. "What have you done?" Billy shrugged. "I think I've colored outside the lines." The dinosaur waddled over and licked Billy's cheek, leaving a trail of pink glitter and biscuit crumbs. Sulky leapt onto the curtain rail in protest. Mum sat down slowly, eyeing the crayon like it might draw a mortgage next. Billy looked at the crayon, then at the dinosaur. "I wonder what else I can doodle up." Mum sighed. "Just don't draw a mess." Billy grinned. Too late. The pink dinosaur, whom Billy promptly named Sir Roar-a-Lot, had settled into family life with surprising ease. He'd taken a liking to Gran's lemon drizzle cake, Grandad's slippers, and Dad's flannel shirts, though they fit more like scarves. But tea time was where things truly went prehistoric. Mum had just laid out a tray of jam sandwiches, apple slices, and a pot of tea when Sir Roar-a-Lot waddled in, sniffed the air, and let out a delighted squeak. He plopped himself down at the table, knocking over a chair and Sulky's dignity in one go. "Billy," Mum said slowly, "why is there a dinosaur wearing Grandad's glasses?" "He's reading the biscuit tin," Billy explained. "He's very cultured." Dad wandered in, tea towel over one shoulder, and froze. "Is that my shirt?" Sir Roar-a-Lot gave a bashful roar and tried to sip tea from a thimble. It didn't go well. The tea dribbled down his chin and onto Mum's crossword, turning 6 down into a soggy mystery. Gran entered next, carrying a tray of scones. She blinked at the dinosaur, then smiled. "Well, aren't you a handsome brute? Would you like clotted cream or jam first?" Sir Roar-a-Lot blinked. Then, in a moment of pure chaos, he grabbed both and smeared them across his belly like war paint. Billy clapped. "He's making a Jammy Dodger costume." Dad groaned. "He's making a mess." Grandad shuffled in, slippers squeaking. "I say, has anyone seen my magnifying glass?" Sir Roar-a-Lot burped. A glittery puff escaped his nostrils, and Grandad's magnifying glass landed in the teapot. Billy leaned back, grinning. "This is the best tea party ever." Mum sighed, wiping jam off the curtains. "It's like living in a crayon crime scene." The next morning, Billy had a brilliant idea. "Let's take Sir Roar-a-Lot for a walk." Mum raised an eyebrow. "He's a dinosaur, Billy." Not a dachshund, but Billy was already in the garden, tying a skipping rope around Sir Roar-a-Lot's belly like a lead. The dinosaur squeaked with joy and promptly chased a butterfly into the flowerbeds, flattening 3 tulips and a gnome named Nigel. Sulky watched from the shed roof, tail twitching like a metronome of disapproval. "Careful!" Dad called, as Sir Roar-a-Lot galloped past, trailing petals and compost. That's my prize marrow. The dinosaur paused, sniffed the marrow, and gave it a gentle lick. It collapsed like a souffle in a thunderstorm. Billy giggled. He's got a taste for veg. Gran arrived with a watering can and a look of mild alarm. Is he fertilizing the lawn? Sir Rawlot let out a polite toot and a puff of glitter. The grass sparkled. Grandad appeared with a notebook. Fascinating. He's a bio-glittering herbivore. Billy beamed. He's eco-friendly. The dinosaur then spotted the trampoline. With a squeaky roar, he bounced once, twice, then launched skyward, landing in the paddling pool with a splash that soaked Sulky, Mum, and the washing line. Dad wiped his glasses. Well, that's one way to rinse your smalls. Billy collapsed in giggles. He's a splashosaurus. Mum sighed, wringing out a sock. He's a soggy menace. But even she smiled when Sir Rawlot offered her a flower, slightly squashed, but heartfelt. By Sunday, the house looked like a Crayon had exploded. Jam stains on the ceiling, glitter in the kettle, and a trail of muddy footprints shaped suspiciously like dinosaur toes. Mum declared a full tidy-up operation, which involved bin bags, biscuits, and bribery. Billy sat on the stairs, Crayon in hand, watching Sir Rawlot nap in the laundry basket. I think he's homesick, Billy whispered. Grandad nodded. Creatures born of imagination often miss their paper roots. Billy frowned. I don't want him to go. Gran sat beside him. Sometimes the best stories are the ones we let go so we can tell them again. Billy sighed, then picked up the magic crayon. He drew a big, cozy cave with a glittery sky and a biscuit tree. Sir Rawlot blinked, sniffed the drawing, and waddled over. With one last squeaky roar, he stepped into the picture and vanished, leaving behind a trail of sparkles and a half-eaten scone. Mum hugged Billy. You gave him a proper send-off. Billy smiled. He's in a jammy jungle now. Dad chuckled. Just hope he doesn't draw up a return ticket. Billy tucked the crayon into a box marked for emergencies and dinosaurs only. Sulky curled up beside it, tail flicking protectively. And as the family sat down for tea, with no glitter, no roars, and only a few crumbs, Billy whispered, "Best week ever." And the moral of the story is sometimes the wildest messes make the warmest memories, especially when drawn with love.